health care to illegal immigrants, including criminal aliens that are here illegally. And so, I applaud, frankly, DHS for taking action to stop these payments under President Trump's leadership, because we have incentivized cities like New York and states like New York, a sanctuary state, to allow this to continue, and it has to stop.
Look, it cost New York, and it's a little selfish of us, billions of dollars because the water was wide open for 4 years. And the mayor that spoke up got exiled in the Democratic Party. Ironically, he's about to be, I guess, in a way, pardoned or protected by this president, who sees a lot of the targeting of Mayor Eric Adams as the same thing that happened to him.
No question, Eric Adams spoke out against what the Biden administration was doing. He said that the migrant crisis was, quote unquote, destroying New York City. Kathy Hochul authorized billions of dollars of state taxpayer money to pay for all these expenditures. Meanwhile, she's fleecing hardworking New Yorkers $2,500 just for the privilege of driving to work. It really just speaks volumes to how inept, incompetent, and corrupt New York has become under feckless leadership.
Right. I wonder if Eric Adams is actually going to win his re-election bid, considering that he went against the Democratic establishment. We see that he's gained favor with Trump. Eric Adams somehow, someway, has found himself at the opposite end of what Brandon Johnson is basically digging himself a hole for. Mike Johnson, Brandon Johnson, Karen Bass, all of them, and because the Houston city mayor has already been ousted, and he's been, replaced by somebody completely different, because Houston was going broke at the time he was married, or he was at the time that he was in office as mayor, and the water department and all of the different crime and corruption that was happening there, which should still be investigated. But Eric Adams somehow, maybe he's the smartest of the bunch. Maybe Eric Adams is the smartest of all Democrats, because somehow, some way, he's found himself able to pivot away from, which he did have to get a little bit of pushback as far as the Biden administration trying to look for things to enable the Justice Department, allegedly, to prosecute him for, which those charges are going to be dropped. And it didn't make any sense to prosecute him anyway, because the Trump administration obviously had said that they were going to pardon him anyway. So, those false trumped up charges, even though I absolutely disagree with what Eric Adams has done over in New York City, he was a part of the Good Old Boys Club, but then apparently he then had a change of heart. And he admitted on Tucker Carlson, which we did a review video here, that they told him to be a good boy, be a good Democrat, and play along with the system so that we can then fleece taxpayers. And somehow, some way, a bunch of people is getting paid as a result of it. Meanwhile, Brandon Johnson over in Chicago is still standing on business and taking care of business over there, while Eric Adams has found himself back in the favor of the people. Ain't that crazy? Politics is really like a video game. It is just like the Netflix series. It is just like the Netflix series. Was that intentional? It is just like the Netflix series with Kevin Spacey. Really phenomenal series itself. But let's continue.
We have to stop this massive influx at the border, which is what President Trump is doing. But we have to stop incentivizing states and cities like New York by spending billions, and in this case, from FEMA, $59 million to support their efforts to circumvent federal law. That's really what this boils down to. States like New York are circumventing federal law, allowing illegal immigrants to get benefits and access to taxpayer money.
All right, so let's talk about something else that's just bizarre that it's happening in New York. New York's top court set to consider non-citizen voting in New York City elections today. Get this, non-citizens, you don't belong here, you're not registered, blowing off court appearance, doesn't matter. That would add 800,000 non-citizen voters. Why is this even a discussion?
It shouldn't be. New York Republicans fought back against this effort Several years ago, we were victorious in the lower court and the appellate division, and now it goes to the Court of Appeals. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit concerned because the New York Court of Appeals has been corrupted by Kathy Hochul and New York Democrats. This is why they tried to gerrymander our maps again last year. They added people who are way too progressive for the court to try and move the court in a different direction. I am concerned, certainly, that the Court of Appeals will make a political decision and not follow the Constitution. It is very clear. Non-citizens do not have the right to vote in our elections, period. There's a reason New York is a sanctuary state and city, though. And the reason is they want illegal immigrants counted as part of the census. That gives them more congressional seats and it gives them more electoral votes. That's what this all boils down to. They want them to be able to vote in our elections. I fundamentally believe that it is wrong. It violates both the U.S. and state New York State constitutions,
Of course,
and needs to be prohibited. And if the court had any courage or any conviction at all, it will reject this outright today.
and those people that actually circumvented what we were supposed to be getting as taxpayers as far as better services from our leaders. Instead, we got people that were finessing and fleecing, and that was a part of the Democratic agenda that continued to run this country amok and run it into the ground. And now what we see is all of the corruption is starting to come off and people are starting to run. I think that those 4 employees, along with the people that authorize them, because you're not going to sit here and tell me that they did it on their own. I don't think that. I think that this stinks to high heaven. I think that there is so much corruption that we are not really uncovering yet. I pray that the Trump administration, along with Elon Musk, continue to reveal this, because if it wasn't, think about this for a second. For all of the people that are mad at Doge, because I've seen that Bernie Sanders dropped a message, and so I want to make sure that I address that, but that'll be in a completely different one. For all of the people that continue to support this nonsense, that supports, and all of the Democrats that refuse to call this out, are they all a part of the good old boys club? Are they all in on it? Because I want to know who all of the people are that are giving up authorization for these migrant payments and where the money is going. Because when I started to investigate this, when I started to address this back in 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, the number one question that I always used to ask myself is, why? Why are they so dead set on sending and spending billions of dollars? Think about it. Over in Chicago, staffing companies that don't nobody even know who own them and all of this stuff, they get bread. Over in New York, same thing. Hotels, staffing companies, all of these places are getting bags. They running it up. And so the question that I've always asked is why? Who, where, what, when, and where? Nobody has any faces to anything. And now we see the Department of Treasury has been sending out payments like crazy to places that shouldn't even have them. Come on, family. Come on. You're not just going to sit here and tell me that I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. I'm not crazy. We not crazy. Nobody is crazy. We all know what we talking about. We all know what we doing. We know that it's corruption, broad corruption, and we just refuse to act like we going to address it, or at least they're doing it on the Democratic side. But I'm just wondering when the shooter's going to fall. Y'all let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon link is in the description. Also, Teach Henley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. You guys let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Peace.